Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to try this. I'm not. We're fighting feedback because this is not the way this is supposed to work, but we'll see. In any case, I will call the meeting to order. We're going to forego the national anthem this evening. I will read the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement Statement. Municipality of Whitestone recognizes all of Canada resides on traditional, unceded and/or treaty lands of the Indigenous people of Turtle Island. We recognize our municipality on the Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory is home to many past, present, and future Indigenous families. This acknowledgement of the land is a declaration of our commitment and collective responsibility to reconcile the past and to honor and value the culture, history, and relationships we have with one another. Councillors, any pecuniary interest to disclose? I should start by letting everybody know that we have with us this evening, Councillor Brian Woods, Councillor Joe McEwen, Councillor Beth Gorham-Matthews, and Councillor Joel Lamb is participating via Zoom tonight. So those of you on Zoom will be able to see him. And hopefully we'll all be able to hear. We also have our CAO clerk, Michelle Henry, and I'm Mayor George Comrie. So the record will show there was no pecuniary interest declared.
George, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you wish to say something?
No, I didn't know whether you even heard me or not. So you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, and the people in the room can hear me or not?
Yeah. They're nodding their heads, yes.
Good. Then I can participate. Thank you.
You can participate.
Good. I intend to. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so now then, we need a motion to approve the agenda and okay, we'll just approve the agenda circulated. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Gorham-Matthews moves. Councillor McEwen seconds. Thank you. All those in favor, please indicate. Okay, thank you. That's approved. We have an agenda. We have no presentations and delegations tonight, but we do have a public meeting. And so I would entertain a motion. Let me see the motions. Gives me 1 second.
I'll fill it out.
If you wouldn't mind,
I'll
please.
fill them all out.
Okay, but I have to see what they are.
Okay.
And then I'll get them to you. Okay. Could I get a motion, please, that we move into a public meeting at, it looks like 7:04 p.m.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Councillor Woods moves, Councillor Lamb has seconded. All those in favor? Thank you. All right. By way of introduction to the public meeting, the purpose of the public meeting is to obtain input from ratepayers on a particular matter, which is the application by Will Roberts to rezone property adjacent to Bolger Landing on Bolger Lake. In your package, you will have a memorandum from the municipal planner, John Jackson. It's the same message. It's the same memorandum that was circulated previously. There's no new information. Mr. Jackson is not available tonight, but he doesn't have anything new to add to what he provided in that in that memo. So um, again, as I say, our purpose is to get input from ratepayers about that particular application. That's what we're going to do this evening. The applicant has requested that we defer making a decision tonight, so it's not our intention to make a decision, but we do want tonight, but we do want to give people an opportunity to be heard. So I will ask you, first of all, everyone who's here in the room should have should have signed in, so we know that you are present, and those online on Zoom are you're recorded as having participated if your name shows up on the list. So we'll just by way of brief instructions, what will happen is we'll allow people in the room to speak and alternate with people who are on Zoom, give them an opportunity to speak to this. There isn't going to be a debate as far as council is concerned, so this is your show. I would ask, if you're going to speak to it, to please state your name first, so that those who are not in, everybody will know who it is that's speaking. If you have already made a submission, I would ask, please don't read it. You can speak to it, but please don't just read something. Councilors already have all of the submissions that have been received in the package. So they will have seen what you had to say in writing. Other than that, I think we can proceed. The normal practice is to ask the applicant if he wishes to say something, and the applicant's planner is here this evening. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you to just, if you don't mind, sir, please come to the microphone and introduce yourself, and we'll give you the first word. It might not be. Oh, there it is. Thank you.
Hello?
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. My name is Stefan Sherback, and I'm a registered professional planner with the firm Landscape Inc. Our mailing address is 104 Kimberley Avenue in Bracebridge. I'm speaking this evening on behalf of the applicant, Will Rothman Roberts, who's the owner of the subject lands, and I understand that he's also online today and would like to address council. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. This is my first in-person public meeting in over 2 years, so it's nice to be back in and seeing people's faces and meeting council members. As your planner, Mr. Jackson, has summarized in the respective memo, the rezoning of the subject lands is to permit a new commercial marina use. The original request submitted by the applicant was simply to rezone the property to include the full suite of permitted uses as indicated in the rezoning bylaw. And that's found on pages 3 and 4 of Mr. Jackson's report. The applicant received a number of questions and concerns relating to this proposal, and he retained us to assist him with this application. I have not had time to prepare a full planning justification report. However, I've reviewed your official plan, and I fully concur with Mr. Jackson's preliminary planning report, which has highlighted several applicable policies that support this request. Upon review of the letters of concerns contained in your council agenda, specifically those with valid land use planning related concerns, the applicant has now clarified his intent and is requesting a revision to the submission. The zoning bylaw in front of you would have two purposes. First, it's very clear that the applicants are looking to rezone the lands from the waterfront limited service zone to that of a tourist commercial C2 zone, with an exception. The exception applies to the subject property. And the second new request from the owner is to limit the permitted uses within this specific designation. So instead of permitting the full suite of uses, which has concerned a number of individuals, he's now simply requesting a marina use to address the immediate needs of the community. And he would also like to keep his options open for future development that may include some form of tourist commercial accommodation. That being a tourist establishment, a resort, or a rental cottage establishment. The rest of the uses that are listed in that report can be removed. The original submission, again, was to request that council defer making a decision. I just was unclear at the public meeting. However, I mean, if council wishes to consider this request at this meeting, it sounds like it's just, there will be no debate. But again, the applicants are requesting that the bylaw be revised to limit those permitted uses. With respect to some of the issues, our client fully acknowledges that there are requirements that he needs to apply for, receive a site plan application. He's fully aware of any additional permissions related to the development of the property. And when we take a closer look at your official plan and the applicable policies, there are several supportive policies specifically related to economic development. And again, Mr. Jackson has flagged those policies that again are supportive of this application from my perspective. The site plan agreement, as noted earlier, is required to cite any proposed development. It will consider the location of the adjacent conservation reserve, and any permissions through the province again are acknowledged and will be submitted for accordingly. Protecting the environment, including the lake community, is also our client's desire. So in summary, Mr. Mayor and members of council, I'm satisfied that the proposal in front of you conforms to the direction of your official plan, and it's my opinion that it represents good planning. We're here to listen to the public, address any questions or concerns, and should council choose to consider this application, again, our client would like to limit the permitted uses so that they can achieve their short and long-term goals. I'm available if council has any questions respecting the application, and I would respectfully ask council that I have an opportunity to respond to any questions or comments from the public submission. Thank you, and I believe the owner is also online. I don't know if you wanted to switch to online submissions or if you're going to go through the room first. Please, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I see that Will Roberts is in fact on the phone or on Zoom. Do you wish to speak at this point, Will?
Sure, I can say a few words. I just wanted to thank council for hearing us tonight, and I'd like to just focus on the core of my application and how it can potentially take some of the pressure off of the MECP and the municipality to that with regards to the activities back at Bolger. I think that this property could extremely be beneficial to the entire community of Whitestone. And other than that, I think that the planning of John Jackson really speaks for itself. I concur with my planner. And I would be willing to offer a donation to the MPA of $2,000 in order to for the road fund for any potential increase in traffic, if any at all, on the road, if the council was willing to consider my application tonight, to vote on my application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I see. Let's start. There are some people in the room who wish to speak to this. So if you wouldn't, you'd like to go ahead to go up to the microphone, please, and introduce yourself. And
my name is Brent Sullivan, property with Portage Lake.
It's not on.
oh, it's sorry, it got turned off. No.
My name is Brent Sullivan, property owner in Portage Lake. Thanks for this opportunity. Contrary to comments by the applicant, The council meeting of September 20, the proposed purpose of the proposal is to service the Bolger community. The intent is obviously to introduce a tourist location. References to 50 boats in private docks and the privacy issues, I believe is overstated. The applicant not know his boats in private dockage prior to the purchase of the property. The comments on tree cutting took place 6 or 7 years ago. Once approached, the MPA, through effective communication, enhanced our members' respect on the objectives of the NECP. There have been no further concerns. Additionally, tree cutting is not an MPA event. The sole event of these comments is to present the MPA in a negative light to secure a more favorable position for the applicant. MPA alleged mismanagement is inaccurate, intentionally misleading, and inflammatory. Not once in the 8 years of sole ownership has the applicant tabled these concerns. Why now? In the applicant's recent letter to council, we were updated on the amount of property owned by the family. I don't see how this is relevant in any way. The detailed listing of applicant's deeds over a 24-month period was clearly an attempt to create an artificial demand for service. It should be noted that the applicant encouraged usage, starting with trailers, as a result of the contact to the NECP. Contractor support, as everyone acknowledges, is strictly financially driven and must be considered for relative merit. A long history of commercial activity did not include storage containers, propane or gas sales, extended dockage, snow machine tours, and the deterioration of the only access road to our community. The applicant has concerns relative to the number of anonymous letters. I believe that the clear majority are willing to face retribution, not to further the current and future usage. Looking at the applicant's property in question, one would think that approval had been granted. The ecological and environmental issues have been violated. Moving forward could be an even greater risk to the environment and community. We already see a storage container and excessive clear cutting. What's next? Thank you, Council.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we could go to the to Zoom. And
Mr. Mayor, it's Councilor Lamb.
I don't see anybody with their hand up on Zoom, and I should have mentioned that if you wish to speak.
Calvin has his hand up, and Councillor Lamb wanted to say something.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if you could just ask the people at the mic to speak directly into the mic, okay? So that we can hear them on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay, will do. Thank you. So I see Calvin Williamson has his hand up. Calvin, do you want to go ahead, please?
Yes, thank you. I'll be about 3 minutes. Dear Mayor, councilors, and those attending this meeting, I come before you as the president of the Magnetawan Pioneer Association to represent the members of our Bolger community. I have taken a neutral position to ensure the common voice of our membership is heard. I have received numerous calls, emails, conducted a survey, and held a Zoom call to be given clear directional guidance. I have provided various means for members safe enough to express their opinions. The overwhelming majority of the members are opposed to the rezoning proposal. The comments, emails, and letters have been provided to give their sentiments, concerns, and opinions. I would like you to pay close attention to 3 letters: Candace and Charles Strickler, Laura Head, and Steve Rose. Will has stated that the proposal is for the cottagers. The cottagers have said they do not want this. I asked then, who is it for? Has the proposal been assessed to determine the need for the proposed rezoning, the effect this will have on emergency services, environmental, and the potential loss of a historical unique area? Like a historical building, this area should be protected to retain its historical value in Whitestone. From the vantage point of Colonel Iverson's veranda, the MacArthur brothers, Mac, Bill Sr., and Jim Sr., decided 100 years ago in 1922 that something had to be done to improve mail service, forest management, and to protect the game and fisheries. In 1924, concerned people of Bolger signed a charter to identify compelling need for conservation of wilderness. MPA members then and now assume the responsibility of respecting and protecting the environment and passing it on to those that follow. Bolger clings to the primal qualities of nature and has remained pioneer in spirit. Her people respect and try to preserve a precious heritage. That is what the Bank-Nottawanna Pioneer Association is for: the conserving, enjoying, and sharing of God-given privileges of unspoiled land, clear water, and fresh air, unchanged by the passing of centuries. We have a gentleness in a harsh world. We have the integrity of nature in a time much given to greed, waste, and deceit. We have the sun, rain, and snow to clear our minds and to heal our spirits of all those that truly appreciate the glories of Bolger. What will there be for our children and their children? The answer is in our hands and in the councillors' vote. Let us never forget that the future will not fail to wreak vengeance on those that ruthlessly despoil the present. I thank you for your time, and the MPA asks that Will Roberts respectfully withdraw his rezoning proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kelvin. Is there someone else in the room that wants to speak?
I will. I'm still formulating thoughts here, so I may have to come back.
Well, if you want to come back later, you can. I mean, I can keep going.
This is the first time I've seen almost all of this, so I'm thinking about things. I will have questions, but I'm not ready to discuss.
Okay, all right, thanks. We can go ahead, I guess. I see Laura Head has her hand up. Laura, do you want to go ahead, please?
Sorry, my name is Laura Head. I own property on Portage Bay. So when I first heard through the grapevine that Mr. Roberts was going to offer some sort of boat storage on his property, I initially thought it was a great idea. I thought there would definitely be some people who would use her services. My only concerns were that he received the proper approvals. Working in the planning industry, it's a big deal to me. And also he get insurance. That's just to protect himself. However, after listening to the September 20th council meeting, I believe, to use someone else's analogy, that this marina is a Trojan horse, so to speak, where Mr. Roberts has intentions to develop his property beyond the marina use he's advocating for. He specifically spoke to the additional tourism uses that would be permitted under that C2 zone and a desire to possibly zone some other parcels that he owns as well. So it's these additional tourist uses that I'm most concerned about, as there appears to be little to no practical justification for them. Coming from a planning perspective, the proposed zoning change does not keep with the municipality's official plan. It's not in keeping with the existing local land uses. It's serviced by a road network that would significantly impact the additional would be significantly impacted through the additional uses at the sole benefit of one owner. It's immediately adjacent to a conservation reserve. And I understand through Mr. Steffen, and I'm sorry I did not get your last name, from Planscape. You're proposing, I guess, to have a modified zone where these tourist uses would still be permitted. So even with the modified zoning proposed, the above still remain valid concerns, and frankly, they remain unaddressed. There's negative impacts that are very valid, from the additional tourist uses to the existing environment, to the existing, existing ratepayers and the existing users of the access road, both cottagers, but also for recreational users as well. The reduction in the number of uses may pose unknown negative consequences to the majority of the people that use this area at the sole benefit of one person. So in short, I'm opposed to the zoning amendment for the reasons I've just mentioned, and also the reasons I mentioned in my letter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone else? Okay, I see Maggie Head's hand is up. Maggie, do you want to go ahead, please?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. As you mentioned, my name is Maggie Head, and I have been a cottager on Boulder Lake since 1987. I've read through the past council meetings, precedent set, and the documents that appended this evening's meeting, and I ask that you make an informed decision and visit the landing at Boulder Lake to make a first-hand determination. You will be able to see for yourself that the note of half-sunk boats and docks and launches is a fabrication by the applicant to create a compelling story. I note that the September 6, 2022 council meeting highlighted that there was one singular complaint about the landing at Boulder Lake. It would appear to me that the applicant has created a problem that did not exist and a solution that you will see the majority do not want. Mr. Roberts created the need for services that no one wanted, and many signed up for the convenience, not understanding that his intention was to build a greater empire and set himself up as the arbiter of who can and cannot access their properties. I note that precedent has been set with the Farley's Road landing, whereby cottagers who are waterlocked are unable to access their property via a parking system. Mr. Roberts' letter is misleading, trying to indicate that there is no other landing like this that exists in the Whitestone area. I would also ask that you draw your attention to the planning note by John Jackson, section 1.1.1 sub G, that states ensuring that necessary infrastructure and public service facilities are or will be available to meet current and projected needs. And section 1.1.1.4, development that is compatible with the rural landscape and can be sustained by rural service levels should be promoted. I ask you two questions. Can the hydro right-of-way accommodate droves of additional people, plus potentially gas and propane trucks? Are CCANs in keeping with sustaining the rural landscape? The existing infrastructure simply cannot support this proposal. We have an already strained emergency response system. I think we can all agree to that. And I would ask all of you, all of council, to consider how this would actually impact all of you as well, especially if there's potential for emergency calls or more emergency calls on Boulder, a remote area, and emergency service would be spread thin to respond to other emergencies in the area, thereby impacting you and your families. Has the applicant provided a business case for this, outlining the revenues and how they would support the municipality of Whitestone and the limited infrastructure and emergency resources? You see, council, this isn't just a Boulder Lake problem. This has the potential to impact all of you. I'm concerned that the land is being altered and that we will never be able to go back to the way it was. The applicant has been taking stands in the Conservation Authority lands to act as fill for his property, and then turning around and calling the authorities on the MPA. I also call into question the note of a recording device at the landing and highlight that Mr. Roberts actually has a camera himself facing municipal land. I would also question his notation about the number of properties that a family owns. I don't believe that that's relevant. And I know that there are other families on the lake that own more properties. I would also ask you to critically examine the ledger of services provided by Mr. Roberts. Had I known that it was in the interest of a community to keep score of when we help one another, I would bring up the numerous times my family and I have helped Mr. Roberts. And I don't need to bring those instances up, but I know that he is fully aware of them. In a community, we help one another and we lead with our core competencies. That's just what a people in the community do. They don't keep score or ledgers. I think that we can all agree that the majority of cottagers are not in favor of this proposal. If this proposal is so onerous and the majority are not in favor, I would ask you to ask yourself why anyone would push this hard for something that no one wants, if not for personal gain. Again, I would ask you, why would anyone create a problem that no one had and a solution that no one wants? I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the room here that would like to speak at this point?
Can I ask questions? Is that?
You can, but you need to go to the microphone, please, and
I wasn't sure.
introduce yourself if you don't mind, please.
Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So I'm
Sorry.
Steve Ross, and this is Sarah Ross, and Sarah's family have been owners of property on Portage Bay since 1926, so a long history. Now I have questions. I'm not going to rehash what's in the letters. My background is in forestry and mining. I work on big projects across the country, and the question is, because it's kind of backwards to what I'm used to, we have to obtain all the approvals and permits to do something before we can get something rezoned. And I'm just wondering, is that the process here, or is he gonna get rezoned and then he has to go get all the permits and approvals?
Well, the short answer, sorry, the short answer is that rezoning is a step that is necessary to change the use of the land from what is currently being used at. If he in fact wants to build something on it, then you would have to get a building permit. That's a second step.
Okay, well, that was my question, because it's kind of backward to what I'm used to, so that's what I wanted to know. So related to that, there are going to be a number of permits that are going to be required if this is a marina, and maybe the planner can address some of these, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head, based on experience that I've had to deal with on, mining projects that disturb water. There's going to be federal assessments that are going to have to be dealt with. There's going to be the North Bay Mattawa Conservation Authority is going to have to be dealt with. The MECP is going to have to be dealt with through the conservation, because of the conservation reserve and the impact on the marina. So I guess that's a question for the planner on behalf of Will. Are you aware that, I'm sure you are, that there's going to be all of that work involved, and that gets to be extremely expensive. Okay, so I just didn't know whether people were aware of that or not, because I noticed when I read, this is the first time I've seen much of this, the proposal, the stuff from the planner, and when I read through, I noticed some statements about reaching out to MECP. Well, that's not how it works. There's going to be a public process through that. And in multiple stages, along with an environmental study report and all the other requirements. So I didn't know whether that was all known. I guess it is. So that's one of the things I wanted to say. The other thing I wanted to bring up were maybe some legal issues that are, I'm not a lawyer, but I've been involved in so many of these things and dragged into many of these kinds of issues. And when I looked at, for example, the proposal by Will, there was a whole list of names of people, and I don't think their names were put in that letter with their consent. I think there's some legal issues here that have to be considered when the municipality is reviewing all of this. Those are the two things I wanted to raise.
Oh, okay, thank you, Steve. There's just to answer your question, the MECP is not involved in a development of this kind. It's not on the conservation reserve. It's on private property. And
no, I understand that, but if there's going to be a marina there, it's going to impact the conservation reserve. It's going to impact the water. I know that from all the mining projects I work on.
Well, okay, but that's a separate.
But that was my point.
I know, yeah.
Additional approvals required.
No,
once the rezoning is.
No argument about that. It's just, but it's not, it doesn't go through the MECP is all I'm saying.
Well, I believe there will be an MECP requirement, because I will raise the issue for sure. But anyhow, I wanted to make sure those two things were raised. The process, there's many steps, and maybe some of the legal issues. So I guess related to the legal issues, does the municipality have a lawyer review all the documents before a decision is made?
The public and the applicant are allowed to make submissions based on fact. They haven't said anything of a defamatory nature again about other people, so I don't see what the legal issue is.
Well, I would disagree on that.
Well, okay, so this is not an opportunity to have a debate. You raised the issue, and I'm sure the councilors will listen to what you have to say, but we're not going to debate those
No, I
things.
wanted
Thanks
to-
for
I
bringing them
wanted
up.
to- I wanted to raise these
Yeah.
two issues, that's all.
Okay.
Thanks.
Fine. So I'm not seeing anybody. I'm not seeing anybody else with their, oh, okay. Nadine Mignardi.
Yes, thank you for letting me speak. I want to not necessarily rehash a lot of the points that have been made. But I do concur with both of the comments made by the head ladies, both Laura and Maggie Head. I have a lot of thoughts about this, basically not in support. The one comment I did want to make with respect to the tourism piece and the historical aspect of it. I am quite aware of the historical tourism. Both of my grandparents were involved with the tourism at Boulder. However, the tourism that we're considering, I guess, is at a whole nother level. It's also unclear what we're looking at. I think that would need to be discussed further in written form. I understand there's a change being proposed. I'm not sure what exactly that is, but the tourism historically is not what is being proposed, I don't believe.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any more flags up right now, so I wonder if any of the counselors here would like to ask any questions. Councillor Lamb, are you wishing to speak? Yes? I don't think you hear. Councillor Lamb, did you wish to speak? Don't think so.
I'm here to listen. That's the purpose of the public meeting. I have not had the opportunity to go out to Bolger. I intend to do that over the next couple of weeks. And I learned a long time ago, you gather all your facts before you make a decision. It's obvious this decision is going to be made by a new council, of which there are 2 new members. So hopefully those 2 members are listening to this or are in the room, I would hope. But anyway, again, I will look forward to both Will's planner and our planner reviewing all the information and all the letters that have come in and giving their perspective from a planning standpoint, because what this is a planning issue. And you know, people have heard me speak many times about a Whitestone solution to these things, and it appears to me that the applicant is kind of trying to negotiate here. These are just an overview, trying to negotiate, taking the number of uses down and down and down. But clearly, I guess the message from the owners and the cottagers out there is we don't want anything. So I don't know. Sometimes you're best to compromise. And if that compromise is not available, and if people want to say, we just don't want anything, we want to protect our lake, and it's not your lake, it's the public's lake, and much of the trail out there is Crown land. So you have to look at it in that perspective. So again, don't prejudge what my decision may or may not be here, but my comments are, you know, sometimes when you draw yourself or back yourself into a corner and say, we want nothing, sometimes you don't get the result you want. So it seems to me that the association has clearly staked, their position in the ground, and I can respect that, and I understand what they're trying to say. And so I guess that's all my thoughts at this point. Again, I will go out there, I will take a look at it. This came to council, by the way. And again, Mr. Mayor, I may have this wrong, but I thought this came to council a year or so ago as a big problem. That there were, 40 or 50 boats and all up on shore and making a mess of the shore road allowance. And it was both unsightly and I guess there were other issues. And when that came to council, I mean, this isn't something that was driven by council. I think it was driven by supposedly a need for it. And maybe that need isn't there anymore. I don't know. But again, this isn't a council driven thing. This is something that we obviously have to make a decision on. But I think a problem was recognized, and I thought a solution was coming forward, and that's the light that it initially came to us. But anyway, those are my comments. Maybe too wordy, but I'll get out to Bolger, and I look forward to further debate and further input from the planners, and finally we'll make a decision. Probably my guess is that this decision will be pushed off to a minimum of January, because we have a new council coming in a couple of weeks, and we have other things on the agenda that we have to get done in November and December. So I would think this is all coming back to us in January. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McEwen, did you have a question? Or I was thinking, we're not, as I said at the outset, I don't think we're going to probably have a debate about the merits of this tonight, because we have been asked to defer to a future meeting. But this would be an opportunity for councillors to ask questions of the folks on the call who have opinions about this, if they wish. Councillor McKinnon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As an outgoing councillor, I won't have a lot to say here. I certainly sympathize with folks on the lake. I sympathize with the job trying to invest and improve situations leading to and from the lake. I know there's a lot of history as the letters and people are speaking out loud and clear. We're dealing with a very precious part of Whitestone, being lakes and land, and that location again, as often happens here, we get some very unique situations. Every lake and lake community seems to have its own specific exceptionalities, like Wawash Lake, Farmer Lake, Whitestone Lake, and certainly back in the wilderness area, which has been a treasure for a lot of people for a long time. I feel personally that if this is done properly and maybe in a modest way, can be, from a safety point of view, access to lake point of view, and assistance to folks coming in the presently and maybe in the future. A lot of congestion, it certainly is not in the interest, I don't think, of the lake and the municipality in that particular area. The planner mentioned that Will is willing to and interested in, I guess, as Councillor Lamb alluded to, some kind of negotiation and dealing with changes, going from a rural to some form of a commercial, whether it be C2 or what it is, or variation of a rural or restrictions on a C2. There is a lot to be, a lot of information to be gathered by councillors in that area of the rezoning part of it. Just specifically what is added on, taken away, and such to the existing zoning. So I guess that'll have to come when you receive all the information as you are from all the people around the lake and from I guess Mr. Jackson's first kick at it. He's just introducing it in essence. So it's got a long ways to go, and I look forward to seeing where it ends up, and I hope it comes to satisfaction of the lake and the municipality. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions or comments from councilors? Councilor Woods.
Well,
You're on.
okay, thank you.
Good stuff.
I actually took the opportunity to drive out to Boulder this afternoon. I wouldn't suggest it with the kidney stones. It was absolutely horrible out there. To be honest. And I did have the opportunity to talk to a couple of the residents from out there. I was taking a look around there. There is still quite, a great number of tin boats all over the shore allowance. The parking area, it's the same parking areas that it was that I see, but it could get overly busy there if a lot of people decided to go use that area for parking. The expanded parking area, I can see some of what people are trying to get done out there. Couple of things that I just kind of thought was, I don't see it being a huge issue to do a rezone, considering that most of the boats parked on Mr. Roberts' property are all residence boats up there. He's providing the service in order for him to protect himself liability wise, especially when the insurance is concerned, he would have to be zoned. So I don't know if he decided to not let everybody park their boats or use his extra property there for the uses that have been used, what would everybody do with their boats in the meantime? Right? I know the trailers can't get parked in the parking area long term. I know there has been a lot of issues up there. I did notice though, Black Lake was really, really clean when I got out there. There was no garbage around, there was no garbage down the trail, so these people are getting the message out there to clean up a little bit and be a little bit more respectful. I can see someone shaking their head, but I can just tell you about what I read yesterday. And I have pictures for everybody if you want to take a look at them. I don't know, the big thing to me is this came across as a problem to council. I see a resident, maybe people don't want to believe that he's trying to help out. I have talked to him a few times now. I do think he is trying to help out. But I think everybody should be more willing to work together instead of hardline no's and hardline yeses for everything. Right? We are a community. We should be trying to work together as much as possible. Not everybody might get absolutely everything they want, but at the end of the day, we should be able to achieve something that's good for everybody. I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you. Okay, I'll just go around once. Is there anybody else in the room? Go ahead, please introduce yourself and
Hello, my name is Candace Strickler, and I wrote a letter on behalf of myself and my husband. And one of the things I want to just point out is in John Jackson's report, he stated that given the only neighbor to the subject rezoning is the applicant, so therefore he would say that it would be no objection to the proposed zoning. But my suggestion is that the conservation reserve is an adjacent property owner, and that is owned by we the public. So I just wanted to make it clear that he's not the only property owner there. And then further down in the document, down in my paper, in my letter, under amendments, I'm not a planner. I don't know the official plan in and out, but I did have a look at it this a couple of days ago. And one of the points I just want to make to the councillors, to the people who are going to make this decision, is that under 21.13 amendments, it says the council shall have regard to the following criteria, presumably prior to passing an amendment. And first of all is the need. So your first point was the need for the proposed use. So I don't know whether you've heard the numbers, what our internal survey was for our association, but it was something like 87% of property owners there do not want this development. So I would say there's no need. That's my opinion. The second point is the physical suitability of the land for the proposed development, the proposed zoning. So because of the species of risk in the area, the fish habitat that's in front of the property, plus the conservation reserve Crown Lake bed is in front of the property. It's my thought that there is no physical suitability of the land to be rezoned to a commercial development. The adequacy of the existing and proposed roadway, I would say there is no adequate roadway. The trail that runs from Boulder to Muskogway is historically a portage trail. The township has no authority over it. The only one that has authority over it is the MECP because it is part of the conservation reserve. So if ever anything has to be changed to that road, it has to go through the MECP work permit process. So we can't even trim trees along that road without there being a work permit requirement. So I'm just suggesting that that point in your council shall have regard to the following criteria is that there is no roadway there that really would support a commercial development. And again, it says accessibility of the site for vehicular traffic. And you, Brian Woods, have already noticed how bad the trail is, right? So again, it's our opinion that there is no suitable access for vehicular traffic. You have to have a certain type of vehicle, right? And convenience and accessibility of the site. Oh, I've already done that. Sorry. Adequacy of water supply. And then it goes on to talk about sewage disposal facilities. But there's, I don't know what he would do for water, sewage. I have no idea. I guess that can all be addressed. And compatibility of such use with uses in the surrounding area. So what I'm saying is that it's not compatible with the adjacent landowner, which is the conservation reserve. And again, that's public land, we all own it. So we are an adjacent property owner to his property. That's how I view it. And also, you must have regard for the impacts of the proposed use on the natural environment. So again, with the fish habitat, species of risk, conservation reserve being adjacent, I'm saying you need to really think hard about what impact this would have.
Yeah, by the bridge.
Points. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see two more people online and then I think maybe we can move on to, we have a couple more items to deal with tonight. Lou, I'm not sure who Lou is, but Lou, if you would state your name and go ahead, please.
This is Lou Mignardi. You can hear me?
Yes, can.
Okay. Hey, thank you for letting me speak. Joe, I appreciate your comments about having the planners work together to see what needs to be done. I think part of the intrepidation here is going to what Laura Head had said that, so yeah, there's the marina use, which everybody knows about, but then this amendment is sort of open-ended. So I think people are obviously going to be concerned about what's actually going to happen out there. So I think once the planners get together and can figure out what exactly will be there, I think then people can actually comment on it in an informed manner. That's one of the items I wanted to say. And then also, I know Will had offered up possibly some monetary for repairing the road, but if this is gonna be a commercial development, I mean, it's gonna take more wear and tear on that road, and maybe instead of a one-time donation, it should be a percentage of what the yearly cost is in the upkeep. Since it is gonna be used by more people. Anyway, those are my comments. I appreciate you letting me speak.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I see Larry Watkinson. Larry, do you want to speak?
Hi, Mayor. Can you hear me?
You can.
Hi. I just want to make a couple comments to the comments that were just made previously. Whereas if with regards to the trail, that's we got to make up our mind. Is it a trail or is it a road? Because I think if it's a trail, the road grant should not apply to the section that they describe as a trail. And secondly, as regards to the usage of his property, if nobody actually wants to use it, why are there trailers and boats parked on his property? Obviously, somebody wants to use it. Anyway, those are my comments, and this will go where it needs to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think that we're.
Mr. Simpson.
Oh, I see. All right. We will take one more and then I'm going to wrap this particular section up. Mr. Simpson.
Oh, hi there. Hi. My name is Bartleby Simpson. I'm in Vancouver. I kind of feel very lucky. I didn't have anything planned to talk about, but it is, you know, it does bring up a lot of stuff. Just hearing everything. And so I find myself very lucky because I kind of married into the experience up at Volger. I met somebody wonderful and ended up going up there for the first time only 5 years ago. Their family has had it for generations, like so many other people did. And, you know, coming from BC, we're used to this whole idea of the balance of development and environment. It happens like daily. It's in the papers here. Everybody always knows about it. And I know that, especially having been in politics myself, it's a challenging balance that you have to try and work out. But I kind of got to give my head a shake, and I'm wondering why we're even talking about this, to be honest. Because when I got up there, I'm like, my God, what do you have here? This is a completely pristine area that people would kill to experience. And I'm not talking about tourists. I'm talking about just having as, you know, in your backyard as people who can walk up there. And what is development really? Is development something where, you know, we're talking about, you know, building a resort or building a marina? Or is it something where we're talking about preserving nature? I mean, look at other jurisdictions in Scotland, Germany, Australia, New Zealand, Texas, BC, Alberta. All of these places realize that it's not always prudent to industrially develop a natural habitat. There's economic benefit to actually keeping it pristine. And I'm not talking about let's keep it the same as it's been for years, because, you know, sometimes that argument I know doesn't hold water. But this is a very, very special place. And when somebody's talking about, you know, building a McDonald's or building a resort, and, you know, I've seen some of these snowmobile huts, and I mean, my God, is this really what we want in the area? I mean, anyway, so apologies for the thoughts, but it's as a new person up here, it just really stuns me that this is even being discussed, because what you have is something very, very special.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I think we've pretty much heard from everybody who indicated they wanted to speak. So thank you very much for your input. And what I believe will happen is that there will be further discussion amongst the planners, and this item will come back later on. But anyway, we're in the public meeting, so I'd like a motion to adjourn the public meeting, if I could, please, and we'll get on with some of the other items. It's moved by Councillor Woods, seconded by Councillor Gorham Matthews, that this meeting be reconvened to a regular council meeting at 8:01 p.m. All in favor? Councillor Lamb's in favor. Yes, thank you. Good. Okay. Now, as I said a second ago, there was a suggested motion here for if we wish to make a decision tonight, but unless I hear councillors moving it and seconding it, I think we will just.
That was to be deferred. That'd be deferral.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you have a deferral. The clerk's ahead of me here. That's good. All right, so I'll read the motion then. And that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone receive for information the report from John Jackson, Municipal Planner, dated September 7th, 2022, as well as correspondence listed on the agenda and the addendum to the agenda in respect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment by Will Roberts for information. And that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone does hereby defer this matter to a future council meeting at the request of the applicant and the applicant's planner to allow the applicant and his planner the opportunity to respond to planning related questions and concerns and give consideration to adjusting the application accordingly. So would someone like to move that? So I see Councillor Woods, seconded by Councillor McEwen. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Councillor Woods is in favor, or Councillor Lamb is in favor. That brings us to our consent agenda, which tonight consists of regular council meeting minutes for Tuesday, October 18th, 2022, and the unfinished business listed on pages 4 to 7 of the agenda. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone does hereby approve the regular council meeting minutes of October 18th, 2022, and receive for information all other items contained in the consent agenda dated November 1st, 2022. Can I get a mover and seconder for that, please?
I'll move it. Councillor Lamb.
Is moving, seconded by Councillor Woods. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have the agenda right in front of me here, but if you go down into the minutes, I think it's like item 10 or whatever, the minutes of the council meeting, I think where it says consent agenda, it says that Councillor Brian Woods made the motion, and it says Councillor Brian Lamb seconded it. So as much as Brian and I are close, I'm not taking his name at this point. So that needs to be amended.
Sorry, it was 10.1.
It says Brian Lamb.
Yes, I see that. Thank you. I don't know how I missed that, but anyway, yes. Okay, that will be corrected. Thank you. Any other comments or corrections? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay. So there are no matters arising from the consent agenda other than that correction. Accounts payable. Sorry, accounts payable. Could I get a mover and seconder, please, that the council of the municipality of Whitestone receive for information the accounts payable listing in the amount of $648,850.52 for the period ending October 30th, 2022. And that's moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Gorham Matthews. Any discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. Oh, sorry. Hello?
Just one. Page 2 of the report. Item 8A. HR Consulting Inc. I just didn't know what it was.
Madam Clerk.
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Mayor, to the councillor. This was a capital project that we worked with a consultant to update our HR policies and handbook. And this was one of the payments made. We're just about done with the project.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councillor Lamb.
Yeah. Excuse me. Again, I apologize that I don't have the exact number, but it's about 3/4 of the way through the accounts payable. There's a legal bill in there, and it says it's assigned to either backhoe or bulldozer or something, and it says a legal bill. And I was just wondering what kind of legal bill we had on a capital piece of equipment. What's all that about?
Would you know, Madam CAO, which item he's talking about?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm just looking through the listing. It could be, I'm guessing, because I am not seeing it in front of me right this moment, but there was some useful guidance we received in terms of a debenture that we're working on for the backhoe. But once I find and have a look at it, I will let council.
Well, maybe that's what it is. I guess I would question don't we just make that arrangement with this was a debenture with the bank?
Yes, it was, I see now it's with Russell Christie, and it's related to the wording of the debenture.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Is there anything else? All right, then I will call the question on that motion. All in favor? Yes, all in favor. That's unanimous. And that brings us to bylaws. Item 10. In fact, item 10.1 is a bylaw related to shore road allowance in front of the property belonging to the Stoles on Washcash. So we need a mover and seconder that bylaw 55-2022 being a bylaw to close and stop up that part of the original shore road allowance along the shores of Washcash Lake in front of lot 27, concession 5 in the geographic township of Mackenzie, district now municipality of Whitestone District of Parry Sound, designated as part 1 according to plan 42R21927. And the applicants are Bruce Stoll and Susan Fickner Stoll. Be read a first and second time this first day of November 2022, and further read a third time, passed and properly signed and sealed this first day of November 2022, and numbered bylaw 55-2022. Who would like to move that?
I'll move that motion.
Okay, I see Councillor Lamb moves and Councillor Woods has seconded. So is there any discussion on this one? Council, of course, has seen this before, but it shouldn't be new. If not, I'll call the question, or I'll ask the clerk to call the question for recorded votes since it's a bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Gore Matthews. Yes. Councillor Lamb,
Yes.
Councillor McEwen,
Yes.
Councillor Woods,
Yes.
and Mayor Conley.
Yes.
That motion is carried.
Thank you very much. The next one is item 10.2, which is a bylaw to enter into an agreement for conditions of approval of consent. And this is related, the applicant is DT Enterprise North Limited. The applicant has requested that we defer this application to provide an opportunity for him to discuss the conditions in the agreement with the planners. So I won't ask for anyone to move it at this time. I'm correct in saying that, Madam CAO?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes. We need to work with our planner because it wasn't able to be here today. We will bring this back to council at a future date.
Okay, thank you. So that brings us to item 11, which was a memorandum regarding the Parkers Bay Road launch or boat launch or landing. And the report from staff, which is quite detailed on answers the question that was raised at the time. So could I get a mover and seconder, please, that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone hereby receives the memo Parkers Bay Road boat launch for information. So that's moved by Councillor Woods, seconded by Councillor McEwen. Any discussion? No, all in favor, please indicate. That's unanimous. Thank you. Next, we have a report, financial report on the Whitestone and Area Nurse Practitioner led Clinic Building Expansion Program. A very good report, a very encouraging report. That the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone hereby receives the memo Whitestone and Area Nurse Practitioner led Clinic Building Expansion Financial Report to Whitestone Council for information. Could I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Councillor McEwen moves and Councillor Woods seconded. Any discussion on this one? Councillor McEwen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick comment. I attended the, I guess the official, acknowledgement, if we will, of the monies received and the progress that was made through this whole fundraising event for the nursing station, nurse practitioner at clinic. A special notice at that event was the Lions, and I guess it was a special day for Lions to present as well. And I guess that was the keynote of that day. When this project began a year or so ago, a couple of years ago, the Lions were the first to step up to the plate and offer $5,000 toward the fundraising for the first practitioner-led clinic. And they were, in the end here, from the start to the finish, they donated $3,500, which was the final touch to complete the amount of the fundraising. This was 145% of the original goal. I guess we're still somewhere in here. We've received we've acknowledged receipt of a donor, anonymous donor pledging up to $90,000, which has been very, very beneficial to the county programs on this project. So anyway, at any point, I'm not confusing it. We have come to a grand total which reaches the goal in our fundraising here. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Any other comments? All right, I'll call the question to receive this report. Those in favor, please indicate. All hands are up. Thank you. That's approved. Correspondence. There is a list of correspondence.
Just want to speak briefly to this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I blew right past 11.3 because there wasn't anything. Yes. When this meeting is over tonight, we will be making presentations to two members of the 2018-2022 council who did not stand for re-election in this last election. So they will be leaving us. This is in fact the last meeting of this current council. And so, sorry? Yes. The CAO was reminding me that it's our normal practice to give plaques. We have plaques to all of the councillors who have served in the current councils. We do have plaques for not just for the two who are leaving, but for all of us. And we have one for you, Councillor Lamb, but which we'll have to get to at another meeting. But we'll keep it for you. So anyway, at the end of the meeting, if you feel like staying for just a minute, we're going to do these presentations and then maybe take a few pictures for our website. So, all right, that's what 11.3 was about. Number 12 is correspondence. You have a list of correspondence there with, well, I don't know if there's 17 items. Anyway, could I get a mover and seconder, please, for this? Whereas the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone has reviewed the correspondence items listed on page 8 of the November 1st, 2022 Council agenda. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council receive the correspondence items for information, the following extracted for further discussion and action or action. Mover and seconder, and then we'll populate the list if there's going to be any. So Councillor Woods moves, seconded by Councillor McEwen. All right. Are there any of those items that you would like to speak to? Sounds like none. All right. I will note that we're none extracted. So with that, I guess we can call the question. All those in favor? Receiving the items? Okay, that's. So there are no matters arising from correspondence. Item 13 is councillor items. Are there any councillor items? Councillor Woods.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of, I'll try and be very brief. the one I would call signage. I asked a few meetings back about some of the signs on it, like if they could be condensed. It's just like 5 or 6 different posts out there. I talked to today, just research so there, we had to check the document move out of the way. So it's just a reminder about the signs. The next one, when it comes to signage, on my trip out to Boulder today, and I wish some of the people were here in the audience from Boulder hadn't left yet. I noticed a big sign saying that we're under 24-hour video surveillance, and then noticed the camera. Is that our camera? Out there on the public watch? No? Should we found whoever's camera it is to remove it, considering it's illegal to set up live feed video on public property? Just a question. I guess I'll bring it up again after. The bottle shed out at Aldridge Road dump, I thought looked great, with the lines got replaced. I thought we were gonna put it up on some concrete pads, like there didn't seem to be any pads there, it's just a gravel bed that it was sitting on. And then out at Aldridge Road today, I noticed the chipper going. I guess we're gonna be using some of the chipped wood that was in the pile to use for cover material, but I did notice that there's a lot of vinyl siding and plastic pipe and plastic chairs that was getting chipped and shredded through it, so I don't know how that happened, I just thought I'd bring it up. And that's everything, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gore Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to let the ratepayers public know a couple of events that are happening shortly in the community. On November 11th, a reminder that our local Legion has a Remembrance Day ceremony that the public is welcome to attend. And also on November 11th, there's the annual Hunters Dinner at the Arctic Community Club that evening. That is always a good meal, and it supports the club in terms of their future fundraising. And another, you want to eat following weekend too, there's the Legion as well on September 9th or November 19th, a spaghetti dinner and a dance. So all these groups are working hard to provide things for us to do in the community and to fundraise to keep their doors open. So if everyone can support these groups, that would be terrific.
Thank you very much for that. What can I ask? What was the date of the Hunters Dinner in Hardwick?
It's November 11th.
It is November 11th.
That evening. Yes.
That evening. Okay. All right. Thank you. Councillor McEwen.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. This being my last meeting, I'd just like to acknowledge publicly that it's been a long trip, big trip, 8 years of serving the public, which I enjoyed doing. Comes with its trials and tribulations, but that's part of the job. And mayors and staff for their assistance along the way. So I'll be signing off, and I wish the new council all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McEwen. Anything else under councillor items? One more?
I forgot something, Mr. Mayor, sorry about that. The Boulder Landing again. I did notice a sign that says the dock is for members only of the association. I thought in the agreement that specifically stated that the dock and the landing area is still open to anyone in the public. Just if someone can maybe look into that.
Thank you. I'll look into that.
Okay, thank you. What's next? Questions from the public? Do we have any questions from the public? No. Oh, Scott Nash, that's a question. I think so, yeah. You need to get fairly close to it though, because the volume is down low to keep it from feeding back.
It was, one of them was just a comment. And I know staff have been trying to do updates on the sign on the bunny trail when they can. But last time I was driving up the bunny trail on the south side, when you're going north, it's blank. But there's a few words on the north side, so I think it would just help if there was lettering on both sides saying the messages for people to read. Very simple. And then it's really just something I think has been brought up a couple times. And when I was reading the agenda, and when I heard a couple of the public speak today, I know one of them spoke to privacy. And when I read through the agenda today, we can see a lot of email addresses, phone numbers of people who've written in letters. I would think that maybe we should look to see if that should maybe be redacted. I know people might write in letters, but I don't know if they want their personal email addresses, cell phone numbers, or that kind of stuff publicized. And just picking up on what Brian said, if there is a camera out of Boulder Lake, and it's on city property, and it's not city property, I think that should be a very big privacy item to get addressed and taken care of ASAP. That's all. Thank you. And thanks, Joe and Beth, for all your work for the last number of years.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else, I'll get a mover and seconder for a confirmatory bylaw, please.
I'll move it.
Councillor Lamb seconds. All those in favor? Councillor Lamb's in favor. We're all in favor. Okay. That one. And whereas the business of the meeting has concluded, now therefore be it resolved that this meeting be adjourned at, I have 8:28 p.m.
I
Until-
think Joe and Beth should move this.
Did you hear that? Okay, all right. And until the next regular council meeting of November 15th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. or at the call of the chair. So which Councillor Gorham Matthews is going to move and Councillor McEwen is going to second. All in favor?
We missed you this evening, Councilor Lamb. Take care.
Good luck for your presentation of your plaque. I've got 4 of them on my wall here, so we're at 3 now, 4 coming. So, but anyway, it's been a pleasure to serve with you. I know, Beth, it's only been 4 years, but Joe, it's been, I think, 8 or 12, 8, isn't it? 8 years. Well, anyway, thank you for your service to Whitestone. It isn't always easy to step up, and we certainly don't do it for the pay. But service in public service is an admirable thing, and the two of you are to be congratulated for all that you've done over the 8 years. So good luck in the future. You'll have more time, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody. The meeting is adjourned. If folks would like to stay around for a few minutes, we're going to just take a brief recess to reorganize a little bit so we can get some pictures. And I'm going to turn this off. So I think the folks who are, those of you who are on Zoom probably will not see exactly what we're doing because they're going to move a little bit here. So. But you'll see the pictures in the newsletter or in the
Social media.
in the social media. Okay, thanks, everybody. Have a good night.